What if the very man you crossed half the country to find looked at you with nothing but cold anger? The iron beast wheezed to a stop, its black smoke curling into the Wyoming sky like a warning. Clara Whitmore pressed her gloved hands to the window as Rock Creek Station came into view through dust and steam. Her wedding dress, once bright white, was now the color of old bone after the long journey from Chicago. "End of the line, ma'am," the conductor said softly. His weathered face showed concern when he noticed her dress. "You sure someone's waiting for you?" Clara forced a small smile. "My husband. He said he'd be here." The lie tasted like poison. There was no husband anymore. Doyle Crane, forced on her through lies and pain, had died in a saloon fight 2 weeks ago. She'd run the moment she heard, hoping to reach the one man who had ever truly mattered before the news traveled west. She stepped onto the platform, the August heat hitting her hard. Dust clung to her dress, to her face, to every breath she tried to take. For a moment she had to steady herself against a wooden post, fighting the dizziness that always came when fear mixed with hope. "Mama?" The small voice froze her. A boy, 6, maybe 7, stood near the water tower, sandy hair falling across his forehead. But it was his eyes that stole her breath, clear, bright blue. Eyes she had once loved in another face. "That's my mama," he said proudly, pointing straight at her. P said she'd come back wearing a white dress like an angel. Clara knelt slowly, her skirts pooling around her feet. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "Tommy," he said. "Tommy Callahan. My PA's name is James. He owns the Double C Ranch. He's the best horseman ever." Her heart stopped. James, her James, the boy who had promised to wait for her, the man she had dreamed of through every terrible night, the only person she had ever loved. But how could this child be his? When she left 5 years ago, James had been unmarried, young, hopeful, full of dreams they were supposed to build together. "Tommy!" A woman's voice cracked across the platform. A plump, older lady hurried forward. "You get back here this instant, boy!" Tommy ignored her, stepping closer to Clara. "Are you really my mama?" P said you'd come back when we needed you. Before she could speak, a deeper voice rolled across the platform like thunder. "Tommy, come here." Clara's breath left her body. She knew that voice. She stood slowly, turning, and there he was, James Callahan. He looked just like she remembered, and nothing like she remembered. The boy she had loved had hardened into a man carved from grief and anger. His black hair was tied back. A scar cut through his left eyebrow. His jaw was strong, unshaven, shadowed with days of exhaustion. But his eyes, those storm-gray eyes she had once trusted with her whole heart, now held nothing but fury. "Get away from him," James said, stepping forward, hand resting near the colt on his hip. Tommy hesitated. "But she—" "Now, Tommy." The command was sharp enough to slice air. Mrs. Henderson hurried over and pulled the boy toward the wagon. "Come along, child. Let's not trouble your PA." Quote. Tommy went reluctantly, still staring at Clara with confused longing. When they were gone, James stepped closer. His boots rang against the wooden planks. His jaw tightened. "Clara." Her name sounded like an accusation. She swallowed. "James, please let me explain." "Explain?" His laugh was sharp enough to hurt. "Explain how you promised to wait for me, how you swore you'd break free from your father, how you married another man 3 months after I left for the cavalry." "I didn't have a choice," Clara whispered. "My father. Your father offered me money to stay away." James circled her like a man approaching danger. "Told me you'd already chosen someone better. Doyle Crane. Said you didn't want me." "That wasn't true. I wrote you letters. Dozens." "I never got them," he snapped. "What I got was your father telling me you were married. Gone. Done with me." Clara's hands trembled. "James, they drugged me. Forced me into it. I woke up with a ring on my finger. I tried to leave, and Doyle—" "Enough." His voice cracked from the force of holding himself together. "A convenient story now that Crane is dead." "You knew?" she whispered. "News travels, especially when a wealthy man dies." especially when his widow runs west. His eyes burned. There's a boarding house in town. Stay there until the next train east. She reached for his sleeve, her voice breaking. James, I never stopped loving you. He jerked away as if her touch burned. Love doesn't matter. Not anymore. She stared at him, the weight of 5 stolen years crushing her chest. James stepped back, jaw tight. There is nothing for you here, Clara. Nothing. He turned, walking away without once looking back. But Clara stayed right where she was, trembling in her ruined wedding dress, dust swirling around her boots. Because James Callahan might hate her now. But she had not crossed half the world to lose him again. What do you do when the man you love believes every lie but the truth? The storm rolled in from the mountains like an angry army, turning the sky black as Clara watched the first hard drops strike the boarding house window. She'd been in Rock Creek for 3 days. 3 days of whispered gossip, 3 days of trying and failing to gather the courage to face James again. Mrs. Murphy, the sharp-tongued but kind-hearted boarding house owner, clicked her needles as she knit near the fire. You keep standing in that draft, child, and you'll catch your death, not that stopping you from doing something foolish has ever worked. Clara turned from the window. What makes you think I'm planning something foolish? Mrs. Murphy lifted one eyebrow. I've run this place 15 years. I know the look of a woman with something heavy in her chest and no sense in her head. You're fixin' to go see James Callahan. Clara didn't deny it. Tommy's sick. That's what Mrs. Henderson said in town. Summer fever. Mrs. Murphy's knitting slowed. Most children survive it, but the nights can be hard. And James, he's alone out there. Clara's heart tightened. Tommy needed her. James might not want her, but that didn't matter when a child was suffering. She couldn't stay here while the boy who called her an angel lay burning up with fever. I need a horse, Clara said. Mrs. Murphy sighed, but didn't argue. There's an old mare in the stable. She's steady. Oilcloth is in the tack room. You'll need it in this weather. Thank you, Clara whispered. Don't thank me yet. Mrs. Murphy met her eyes, voice softening. Storms have a way of dragging the truth out of people. Make sure you're ready for whatever comes. The ride to the Double C Ranch was a nightmare. Rain lashed her face, turning the road to mud. Lightning cracked so close she could smell the sharp bite of scorched air. The mare slipped twice, but pressed on, guided by instinct more than sight. By the time the ranch came into view, Clara was soaked to the bone and shaking so hard her teeth chattered. The front door burst open just as she stumbled up the steps. James filled the doorway, rifle in hand, alarm flashing across his features before fury replaced it. Are you out of your mind? He demanded, pulling her inside. You could have died out there. Tommy, her voice trembled. I heard he was sick. So you rode 5 miles in a thunderstorm? He grabbed a blanket from a trunk. Your clothes are soaked through. Strip out of them. Now, Clara. She froze. He turned his back, jaw tight. I'm not looking, but you'll catch your death if you don't listen. She changed into the dry clothes he provided. Mary's clothes, she realized with a painful jolt. Too short, too small, but warm. You can turn around, Clara whispered. James did, and for a moment his anger slipped. She saw worry, exhaustion, fear. Then the wall came back up. This was foolish, he muttered. Where's Tommy? Upstairs. He's sleeping. Fever broke, then came back. Clara didn't wait. She climbed the stairs, her heart pounding. Tommy lay in a small bed under the eaves, cheeks flushed red, hair damp with sweat. James rushed beside her, kneeling by his son. Hey, partner, he whispered. Clara's here. Tommy blinked weakly. The angel lady. Clara sat gently beside him and laid a cool hand on his forehead. Sweetheart, your PA's been taking good care of you. Quote. Tommy's small fingers curled around hers. He always does, but he gets sad at night when he thinks I'm sleeping. James stiffened. He looks at a picture he keeps, Tommy mumbled. Of you. Clara's breath caught. James stood quickly. Tommy needs water. Clara followed him downstairs. She found him gripping the edge of the table, head bowed. The glass trembled in his hand. His mother, Clara whispered. Tell me about her. James didn't look up. Her name was Mary. She was kind, gentle. She tried to make this life work, but it broke her. When she died giving birth, He exhaled shakily. She deserved better than me. Clara stepped closer. James, I never wanted any of this. I never wanted Doyle. He flinched at the name. She rolled up her sleeves. Slowly, his eyes followed the movement. Rope burns wrapped her wrists like ghost chains. His breath hitched. I tried to escape, she said softly. This was the first time Doyle caught me. She lifted her hair, showed the thin scar behind her ear. He threw a glass when I spoke your name, said he'd break me until I forgot you. James, face went pale. And here, she pressed her hand to her ribs. 3 broken ribs, never healed right. He wouldn't let me see a doctor. Clara, his voice shattered, I didn't choose him. I didn't choose any of it. I survived it. James closed his eyes, pain twisting his features. When he finally looked at her, something had changed. The storm inside him had cracked. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. He stepped back, chest rising and falling too fast. Clara, even if everything you're saying is true, I can't forget what happened. I'm not asking you to forget, she whispered. I'm asking you to see me. I do see you, he said. That's the problem. Before she could answer, a cry echoed from upstairs. Tommy! They ran together. The fever had spiked again. And as thunder shook the house, Clara realized she would fight for this child. And this man, no matter what it cost her. The storm raged outside, but inside the small upstairs room, the real battle was happening in Tommy's burning body. Clara and James worked side by side without hesitation, passing water, cooling cloths, whispering comfort. Hours passed in the slow, painful rhythm only parents of sick children understood. Near dawn, the fever finally eased. Tommy's breathing steadied. His small hand curled around Clara's fingers like he trusted her with his whole heart. James exhaled shakily. Thank God. Clara brushed the boy's damp hair from his forehead. He's strong. He'll get through this. James sank into the wooden chair at Tommy's bedside, rubbing his eyes with the heel of his palms. I don't know what I'd do without him. Clara sat beside him quietly. The storm had softened outside, the thunder now rumbling far away. You love him so much, she whispered. James nodded. More than anything. When Mary died, Tommy was all I had left. I promised her I'd protect him, even if it meant locking my heart away. Clara looked at him gently. James, locking your heart away didn't save you. It only hurt you. He swallowed hard. I know. Silence settled between them, heavy but not cold this time. Finally, he asked, Why didn't you tell me everything at the station? She stared at her hands. Would you have believed me then? He didn't answer. James, she continued softly, I wanted to be strong for you, not broken, not ashamed. But when Tommy whispered that I came back when he needed me, something in me cracked. I couldn't hide anymore. James stared at her for a long time. He didn't reach for her, but he didn't look away either. That alone was something. We can't change the past, Clara whispered. But we're here now, and I'm not running anymore. He looked at Tommy, sleeping peacefully between them. I don't want you to run. Clara's breath caught. Her heart felt too big for her chest. Before she could answer, heavy hoofbeats thundered into the yard outside. James shot to his feet. What now? Clara hurried to the window. Lanterns approached. 3 riders, their shadows stretched long across the wet ground. Her stomach dropped. She knew those silhouettes. It was Crane men. Her past had found her. Within minutes, the 3 riders stood in the yard, their expensive coats and polished boots far too fine for Wyoming. James stormed out onto the porch, rifle in hand. Clara followed despite his glare, warning her to stay back. The men in front dismounted with slow, practiced confidence. My name, he said, brushing rain from his coat sleeve, is William Crane. Doyle Crane was my younger brother. Clara's skin went cold. He claimed to have a wife, William continued, and I have come to retrieve her. James stepped forward, jaw tight. Clara is not going anywhere with you. William smiled thinly. I have legal contracts, debts, arrangements between the Crane and Whitmore families. Your guest is still bound to them." Clara shook her head. Those were forced. Nothing about that marriage was real. William gave her a look that made her stomach twist. Whether you signed willingly means little. Whether you fulfilled your obligations means everything. "James," fingers tightened on his rifle, "this is my land. She is under my protection." Quote, William gestured lazily to his hired guns. "My men will escort her. You hand her over peacefully, and perhaps I won't seize this ranch as payment for my brother's losses." James stepped closer, fury burning through every word. "Threaten my ranch again, and you won't leave here standing." Clara pushed between them. "Enough. James, please. Don't do something that will hurt all of us." James looked at her, rain running down his face, heartbreak in his eyes. "I won't let them take you." Clara swallowed hard. "If I go with them, you and Tommy stay safe." "That's not safety," James said quietly. "That's losing everything." Tommy's faint voice suddenly carried through the open door. "Clara?" He stood in the doorway, pale and weak, gripping the doorframe for balance. "You can't go," he said softly. "You promised you wouldn't run." Clara's heart broke cleanly in two. William scoffed. "Touching, but the law is the law." But another voice suddenly cut through the air. "No, the law is the truth." Sheriff Morrison rode into the yard, Judge Carter right beside him. Judge Carter held a stack of papers. "William Crane," he announced, "you are under investigation for forging documents, coercion, and interstate fraud. Your claim over this woman is void." William turned pale. "You can't." "I can," the judge said, "and I will." Sheriff Morrison's deputies disarmed William's men quickly. William shouted threats, but his voice was drowned out by the relief sweeping through the yard. Clara trembled. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was over. The past couldn't drag her back anymore. James lowered his rifle slowly. He looked at Clara with something fragile and overwhelming in his eyes. "Clara," his voice cracked, "you're free now. Truly free." She stepped toward him, heart pounding. "James," she whispered, "I came here for you." He reached for her hand, fingers trembling. "I know, and I was too angry to see it." She squeezed his hand. "You see me now?" James finally pulled her into his arms, strong, fierce, safe. He held her like he'd been waiting years to breathe again. "Stay close to me," she breathed against his chest. His arms tightened around her. "Always," he whispered. "I won't let you go again, not ever." Tommy limped toward them, wrapping his small arms around both their legs. "Are we a family now?" he asked softly. James looked at Clara. Clara looked at James. They both nodded. "Yes," Clara whispered. "We're a family." The storm clouds broke above them, sunlight spilling across the wet earth like a blessing. A new beginning, a new life, a love finally free.